Today, join Zach and I as we share some of our more recent additions to our reading plans, the books that have caught our eyes. Have you read any of these yet?
Hi there, welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son sit down and talk about mostly sci-fi, fantasy, horror books. I'm the son of that equation, Zach.
And I'm the father, Jim. It's a pleasure to hang out with my son today and to come to you with some good content, highlighting some books that might not be on your radar yet. They're on ours, and we're looking forward to reading them, and we want to share what we're thinking. Some of them have been out for a long time, but they finally made our reading plans. Some
of them
haven't come out yet.
Yeah, but we anxiously await them.
Yes. So come and see what we have on our lists. Specifically, these have all been things that have been added to our lists. In my case, a TBR of over 1,600 books. They've been added just this year. Okay, so since January, the ones I'm bringing to you, I've added on. And for Zach, same thing. These are recent additions.
Roughly. Maybe that was like tail end of last year. Maybe it's just this year. But I tried to do at least recent additions.
Yeah.
For both of us, these may or may not be things that we get to anytime particularly soon.
Correct.
But they are things that we have added to our lists recently.
Yeah, when I add to my list, it doesn't just go on the bottom and it doesn't just go on the top. It goes wherever I kind of feel like it fits. You know, is this a top third of the list? Occasionally it goes right to the top. Sometimes it does go near the bottom. I'm like, yeah, maybe one day. But again, the only place that's worse than being on my list is not being considered worthy to even be on the list. So these are all on the list, and I'll kind of highlight if they're coming soon.
My list is probably about the 10th of the size of my dad's, just because I haven't actually written out a formal list as much. But about half of these probably I would like to get to this year or at least next year.
I would call my list, of course, a TBR, the to be read list.
Yeah.
Zach's is a little more loosey-goosey, so reading plan I figured was good for you.
That works. I still consider it a TBR, but I mean, I like to organize my bookshelf in TBR order, but I also read a lot of things that don't ever end up physically on my bookshelf. So
now I do want to invite all of you viewers, after you've heard all these things we've recently added to our list, if there are any other books that are like current that you're really excited about and you think we might like too, put them in the comments. Almost every book on my TBR is there because somebody recommended it. So I'm more than happy to add more and kind of give me the reason why you think we might like this too. And we just love recommendations. But let us give you our recommendations then. We can't vouch for the quality of these books because we have not read them yet, but we believe they are worth our time and they might be worth yours.
We expect them to be at least 3 out of 5 stars for us.
Right. I'm going first, and you're going to hear more from me because 2/3 of these are my books. I read more than Zach does, so it makes sense that there are more on my list. Here's the first. The Southern Reach series by Jeff Vandermeer. This is sci-fi, horror, weird fiction. There's some bizarreness to this, where we have a secret agency investigating the mysterious and ever-changing Area X, where nature has reclaimed the land in unsettling ways. You may be familiar with this already because book 1 of the 4-book tetralogy, which came out in 2014, is Annihilation, which was adapted to film, a very successful sci-fi movie.
Which I've read.
And I haven't yet.
I've read the first book. I can be honest, I don't think I knew it was a series.
There's 3 more. They all start with A. But yeah, that's on my list.
I remember enjoying it well enough, but also I think I read this right before I went off to college, and I kind of stalled out on reading for a good year or so there as I was having to read things for classes.
Stuff. The second one on my TBR is the Chathrind Voyage series by Robert V.S. Reddick. And when we give a little summary, it's kind of like what's off the back of the book. You know, we haven't read these, so
no idea.
If something's wrong, we don't know. This is just what we were able to glean. This is about
Don't come
why
at
it's on our
us.
list.
Just correct us.
Yes, yes, yes. So this one is epic fantasy with a nautical adventure bend. A massive ancient ship embarks on a perilous journey filled with political intrigue, magic, and a looming threat that could alter the fate of empires. It sounds like epic fantasy. 4 books. Starts with the Red Wolf Conspiracy that came out in 2009.
Somehow I got Sequest vibes, and like I don't think that's accurate in any way, shape, or
No
form.
Sequest vibes. The setting is more older fantasy style.
All right, now we get to the first that I have added to my TBR recently, and I have to apologize in advance because I don't know how to say this word.
I hadn't even heard of this one.
It's a real word, theoretically. It comes from Greek, I think.
Okay.
But catabasis.
It could be catabasis. That makes sense.
This is a upcoming book by R.F. Kuang. It makes my list because I like the things that I've read by R.F. Kuang.
You've read The Poppy War and you've read Babel.
So she's just one of the authors that I do kind of watch for and be like, oh, I saw they're coming out with a new book. Yeah, I'll essentially give it a try. And it's certainly one of those things where I didn't immediately go, oh, I have to read it. But I saw they were coming out with a new book. So I went, okay, what's this about? And it's apparently a dark academia fantasy kind of blend.
Okay.
In the realm of things I like that I've read by her, about 2 graduate students that have to put aside their rivalry and journey to hell to save their professor's soul or something.
As some students are wont to do.
Yes. Which notably, I then also had to look up and go, what is a catabasis? Where does this word come from? And it is a term for a journey to hell and hopefully back, coming from stories like Orpheus, that his journey to hell and back is a catabasis.
Interesting. I got smarter.
So
did you guys.
A fun term that I did not know beforehand, but I liked it. I love the cover art I've seen, and I'm excited for when this comes out this August.
All right. Next one for me is a bit older of a series that I had heard about numerous times. Finally decided I heard enough good things. I should put it on the list. Kushiel's Legacy series by Jacqueline Carey. Now, I really don't know if this is going to be my thing, but I'm willing to at least try the first book. It's historical fantasy with a lot of political intrigue. But there's also some romance element.
And that's where we're not sure it's your thing.
Right. Because hear this. It's set in a world inspired by medieval Europe where a courtesan spy navigates a realm of politics, passion, and divine destiny. So there could be enough of the stuff I like to override the parts that I really don't go into fantasy for. We'll see. The first book, Kushiel's Dart, came out in 2001. There's 7 books in this complete series. I love a complete series. So I'm willing to try the first one and see if I'll go on.
This may even be something that it is good, but it still isn't your thing. But you'll find out.
I will find out. My next book is The Skyman's Legacy by Pete Kramer, which came out this year, back in March.
Okay.
I've previously read a book by Pete Kramer, and so he sent me this copy of a new one. I got it before it came out, but it's waiting to be read, and I will get there soon, okay? Because I really loved his first book. This is totally different from his first book. It's not part of a series, it's just a totally different thing. So this is steampunk/spy thriller.
Okay.
He likes to do some things that are quirky and different, and I really enjoyed his writing style. So I'm hopeful for this story that's a daring operative in a sky-faring fleet who faces espionage and adventure in a world of airships and intrigue. I mean, I'd find that interesting just based on that, but knowing I already enjoyed this author's style, I'm excited to get to this book. And let's see, where is it? I have it sitting right here.
It's somewhere behind you.
Here it is. The Skyman's Legacy.
Okay.
So I look forward to getting to this one soon.
It's kind of giving BioShock Infinite vibes to me.
Okay.
That's a good thing for me, but it's also probably an inaccurate assessment as well.
You're next.
I am next. And I get one that got added to my TBR because it's the second book in a series that is coming out this year. that I didn't know was coming out this year, and I didn't know I was going to be as excited for it until I read the first book, which had been on my TBR for a year or two already. And that's The Strength of the Few. This is by James Islington, the second book in the Hierarchy series, the first book being The Will of the Many.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you all that much about what I can't even give you a brief synopsis about The Strength of the Few, really, or any teaser, really. Because even I looked at like the Goodreads little teaser of what is this going to be, and in one sentence I went, that spoils something that I think is huge from the first book. One of the biggest, like, what?
I gotcha.
Just
All
that
right.
this is a fantasy book. Maybe it's also kind of a sci-fi book, and that's as close as I can get to being a little bit teasy about the what.
All
That
right.
makes me so interested to read this book. I'm anxiously awaiting it. This is coming out on November 11th of 2025, and this has been added to my TBR in a way where I will probably
This is an
quickly
insta read.
finish whatever I am reading and read this when it comes
There you
out.
go.
I'm
There you
very
go.
excited.
This series is on my TBR, but because it's still being written, it's not super high. I'll get to it when it's done, but I've heard a lot of great things. Yeah. When are you going to do an episode? I mean, we haven't had one of your book episodes in quite a while. We need to get some of your book episodes
I don't know.
because you could like do one on The Will of the Many. A lot of
I
people are interested in that book.
will do that as soon as I am able.
By the way, if you guys don't know, it's amazing Zach has been on the show as much as he has in recent weeks, months, because he's got a full-time job and he's in school. So he really doesn't sleep.
Yeah, no, it's been a rough few months.
But summer break is coming up for school. We may get him on a few more times for
Maybe
things
a
like
little more.
book reviews now. Yay. All right, my next one, The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones.
I've heard of this.
This came out earlier this year. It's historical horror. In 1912, a vampire seeks justice on the Blackfeet Reservation, unraveling a chilling tale of blood and vengeance. So, Stephen Graham Jones is a horror writer, but he's not straight out like gothic scary horror. It's always a little different. So, I've got the Indian Lake trilogy on my TBR, a little higher than this, because those had already come out earlier and someone had recommended them to me and they look really fascinating. I'll be getting to them soon. And then I put this just a little further down because this is the newest book now, not part of that previous trilogy, something different. But I think I'm going to really like his style of writing. And so this one is worthy of going onto the TBR too.
All right.
Then a series that goes from way back that somehow I'd never heard about, but someone recommended it to me recently, and I checked it out and went, holy crap, yeah, this looks perfect for me. The Necroscope series by Brian Lumley.
So I have to ask, you think it's perfect for you? Is it a zombie series? Like, what am I missing here?
Not a zombie series. It's horror, sci-fi, espionage. That's a blended mashup genre. It has some similarities to the Dresden Files. Not necessarily, I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how it's going to read, but in the context, because it's about a man with the ability to communicate with the dead, who then becomes entangled in a battle against vampires and secret agencies and stuff, because he has this magical ability, a necroscope. He's able to talk to the dead,
Okay.
communicate with them. So the special power plays off into 18 books. Started all the way back in 1986. As far as I know, there aren't any more books planned. It's done now. Some of the books are novellas or short story collections in those 18 books. But I look forward to reading these.
Okay. My next one is why at the beginning of this episode I said mostly sci-fi fantasy horror. Because I don't think this next one actually fits the bill on that.
No, it does not, as far as I can tell.
Because I first was like, is this fantasy? And then went, no, I don't think it is. I obviously haven't read it, but it caught my eye in a bookstore at one point, and I liked how it looked, picked it up, and went, oh, that's an interesting story. And then later came to it again for a different reason and went, yeah, no, let's add it to the TBR. And then I added it to the TBR, and like 2 months later realized, oh, when we saw it in the bookstore, Rach had picked it up already. It's sitting on the shelf. So like I could read it at some point. She picked it up for a different reason. But this is the Wolf Den series. Elodie Harper is the author. The first book is called The Wolf Den, but it's a trilogy. And it's more of a historical fiction. Google told me there's romance elements, but I don't know that it is a romance book. Because
Okay.
also what I got didn't really give romance vibes.
All right.
But it did give historical fiction. And this is a story of a woman who was in more well-to-do status, and then kind of her family dies. She gets basically sold into slavery for a brothel in ancient Pompeii, and has to undergo a lot of hardship and figure out a way to survive and skate by under the radar to a certain extent, especially if she ever hopes to escape and find a new life and freedom.
Okay. You've got it listed. It's a trilogy.
The
And
first book was in
2021?
2021.
Okay.
I believe they're all out. I think it was 2021 and then like 22, 23. Pretty quick there. But it just looked like a really compelling, interesting story in a time in history that I do enjoy reading things in, or things inspired by that time of history. Not my typical read necessarily,
You like
but
branching out a little.
not too far off either.
My next up is The Rise of the West by Gregory Contaxis.
We've heard that name before.
Yes, I've reviewed 3 of his previous books. This is the 3rd book in his Dance of Light epic fantasy series. It comes out later this month, so later here in May. So there's 2 books, and then there's a prequel. I've read and reviewed all of them. Greg sent me this copy as well. Am I going to get to it before it comes out? Probably not, but I will be getting to it soon.
Help me out. Is this a series that starts with the Return of the Knights, or
Yes.
is that this one?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
I am remembering the right series.
As war looms, heroes must unite to confront dark forces threatening their world in a tale of courage and destiny. See, that's how you explain what it's about without ruining the previous books. Something vague like that.
You can't with that one. I'm sorry.
Anyways, I have enjoyed Contaxis's previous books. The prequel was awesome. The first book was fantastic. The second book was okay. It was a little bit of a slip down from book 1. I was honest in my review of that. But I'm hoping it's just the mid-book slump. I don't know if this is a trilogy, if this is going to be the finish. I can't say. But I am hoping it takes off and we see that some of the things in book 2 were set up for book 3. My next one is on here because of you. You recommended this book, Family Business by Jonathan Sims, a 2023 publication. This is horror, supernatural thriller. You'd already pointed me to 13 Stories by Sims, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So I was eager to take on Family Business. And I got a better description of it than what you told me when you recommended it.
Oops.
A woman takes a job cleaning up after supernatural occurrences, uncovering eerie secrets and confronting personal demons. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll read that. That sounds good. What do you got next?
My next is a series that I have heard some mixed things about. Some people really, really love it. Some people don't really get it. And that's The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu.
I've heard the same thing. Love it or no?
This is a 4-book series. It starts with The Grace of Kings, which came out in 2015. It's a fantasy, kind of epic fantasy, separate. It is its own world thing, but it's very Chinese inspired as far as I can tell.
Okay.
And what I've seen as the general premise is that this is the story of a fledgling nation trying to rebuild pieces after the fall of a corrupt empire, and the still morally funky choices that come from that and around it. I did see it's got some magic and fantasy and things, but leans more into the tech side of things. I saw something that listed stuff about airships that gave me steampunk vibes.
Okay.
It's something that, at the very least, sounds potentially interesting and has been added to my TBR a ways down still, but as something where I'm like, I think I'm going to try at least the first book. I might really enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
I might be okay. Weirdly enough, the biggest reason this got added to my TBR may or may not have anything to do with these books.
Is it because he translated the three body problem?
Entirely. It was because I recognized his name because he translated the three body problem,
Yeah.
which I enjoyed. I'm reading the third book right now. And I was like, I think it's the same guy.
Well, the selling grace of this is
This
the
has
author knows Chinese and English.
oh, no, it was 100%. This tells me nothing about this author's writing style necessarily, but I recognized the name, which gave me a starting place to go, huh, would I be interested in these books? And that's all it was.
From my current TBR of 1,637 books, these are 4 of them. They're on my TBR, but they are way down, and they've actually moved lower because things move on my TBR.
Mhm. It's
And in
organic.
part, I raise them when I hear good things from people whose opinions I respect. And I lower them when I hear negative comments and reviews from people whose opinions I respect. And I've heard more negative about this than positive.
I've
So
seen a
they
number of people in our Discord server that have started the series or even read all of it and gave it to even disliking reviews. So
right.
it has shifted a little bit further down. We'll
But
see
still on the
eventually
list.
what I think, but I don't need to get to it quite yet.
All right, my next one is the next audiobook I'm going to do. Gallifile by Terry Brooks. The final book he's written in his Shannara series. This came out earlier this year, just in March of 2025. It's epic fantasy, and it's an origin story of the first druid, Gallifile, and his quest to bring order to a chaotic world. We heard about Gallifile in the series, and we even meet his shade once, I think.
Spoiler.
But we don't get the story, the real story of how all that came about, and now we do. It's here in this origin story. So I'm looking forward to it. It's locked and loaded on my Audible. I just have to finish To Green Angel Tower, which I'm like at 92% of a massively long book. I mean, that still means 5 hours I still have when I'm at 92%. But then Gallifile. And I have a work trip this coming week where I'm going to be driving like
at least 5 hours.
I'm driving like 10 and a half hours one way and then back. So over 20 hours of windshield time, I will easily get through Gallifile over the course of that because I may start it before I leave for that trip. Looking forward to it. The next one that I've added recently is the Elric Saga by Michael Moorcock. This is sword and sorcery, dark fantasy, and it's a classic. It's 3 books. The first one, Elric of Melnibone, came out in 1987. There are other short stories and collections related to it, but there's really a core trilogy now. Elric of Melnibone is an albino sorcerer and emperor who wields a soul-stealing sword as he battles fate and his own inner demons. He's a fascinating anti-hero that we've talked about on a recent episode. And so I know of the story, but I haven't read the story, and I'm looking forward to doing it. It's on the TBR.
My next, and I think last entry today for adding to my TBR is a series that I've also heard a lot about lately, and I've heard a lot of mixed things about lately, where generally I hear either people really don't get it and don't really like it, or they love it and it's like their favorite piece of sci-fi ever.
I've heard the same.
And that's the Sun Eater series. This is by Christopher, I'm so sorry, Ruocchio?
I've gone with Rucchio, but
Rucchio?
Not sure.
7 books so far. I don't think it's done. I think there's another 1 or 2 coming.
Okay.
The first book was in 2018. That's The Empire of Silence.
Genre is...
This is sci-fi, space opera. I'm pretty sure there's magic kind of in there somewhere, so let's throw fantasy in there as well.
It's a genre mashup. Okay.
I get a sense that it's a little loosey-goosey on its science, which is why it's more space opera almost than it is sci-fi. But it follows a nobleman turned explorer and adventurer of sorts as he recounts, lives through maybe a little bit of a like told in past tense thing I was getting a sense of.
Okay.
as he explores the universe, sees various things, encounters alien species, navigates horrendous threats to humanity, and does some heinous things that earn him the ire of humanity, even as he maybe saves it, thus getting the title of Sun Eater, the name of the series.
Interesting.
Like, I'm
Ah,
fairly certain, like, the initial premise is like, no, dude, like, blew up a sun or something, killing a lot of people, but ending
for
the
the
war.
greater good,
And
perhaps.
it's one of those kind of greater good hero anti-hero things, I think, where maybe a quite despicable protagonist. Um,
Okay.
seems interesting. I've heard a lot of people who enjoyed Red Rising compare these and be like, no, if you enjoyed Red Rising, you gotta come read these. And some of those people love it. I'd enjoyed Red Rising, so that kind of got this onto my list. But I've still been a little hesitant just because I have seen some people talk about these and go, yeah, they're okay or a little derivative or here and there. And I'm like, I don't know. I think I will get to them. I'll probably start them this year as I'm doing my year of sci-fi, but they have pretty recently been officially added to my TBR.
Nice. These have been on my TBR for a while, actually. I heard about them when there weren't 7 books yet. I probably put them on maybe back in 2022, but definitely interested in them, but they're not near the top. They're in the top third. There's a lot of books ahead of them, though, including the last 2 things that I'm going to share are both ahead of the Sun Eater series. So my next one is the Newsflash series by Mira Grant. Only heard about this recently. It's a science fiction, horror, political thriller mashup in a post-zombie apocalypse world. So it's not
Okay.
about a zombie apocalypse. It's that happened. That's over. Now bloggers uncover conspiracies while reporting on the undead and societal shifts. 12 books in the series, none of them really long, starts with Feed in 2010. And it
Okay.
just has a very different angle to bring to, okay, what happens after we survive a zombie apocalypse?
Doesn't sound, at least from what you said, that it necessarily is after, but it is definitely after the initial. It's not like this is new zombie outbreak. It's like, no,
Right.
we now live with what the world is now.
Most zombie apocalypse that I've encountered focuses on the
The first, like,
outbreak
decade.
and then the aftermath. This is only the aftermath. The outbreak, that all happened, and we survived, and now we're still living with it, perhaps, but what next? And other things that are happening in the midst of all that. It looks very interesting.
Fair enough. I will say, your last thing on the list, I almost put on the list, but I saw you had it on here, and I said, he could talk about it.
So this is the most recent thing I've added to the list, and it's one of the next things I'm going to read. I've just caved. The more I've listened about it, the more interested I've gotten. Dungeon Crawler Carl, that series by Matt Dinneman. There
Mm-hmm.
are 7 books in the series, and it begins with the first one that's called Dungeon Crawler Carl. This is lit RPG. I've not read any lit RPG yet. I have others on my list already, but this has risen to the top. As a lit RPG style, this one is science fiction and dark comedy. It came out, first started in 2020. There are still books coming out in this series. After Earth's destruction, I mean, that's a great way to start right there. A man and his cat navigate a deadly alien game show dungeon to survive. This is a very ridiculous premise, and yet is getting rave reviews. People are loving, they are laughing, they are enjoying the experience, and I want it. I want it now. So
I can tell you this was on my list. I have heard of this. I just learned what it's actually about.
exactly, I didn't know what it was really about when I
It made
heard
my
about it
list
before.
without me having found that out.
Oh,
Without me, like, I didn't know what you just explained. I knew enough in other ways to be like, yeah, I think I'll enjoy this. I think this should go on my list. I also did stumble, on the Tic Tacs. I stumbled across the author talking with the audiobook narrator for these.
mm-hmm.
And it does have me kind of going, I kind of want to do these as audiobooks. I think it's an enjoyable, like, he's got some fun voices for different characters and things in a way that I might want to do that.
Interesting, because I have a choice there. This first one is available through my Kindle Unlimited and Audible at no extra cost. It's just there. I could do either way. I was planning to read it because I'm listening to other things. I'd have to wait longer to read or to
Tell you
listen.
what, you read it. I'll listen to it sometime in the next month, and we'll talk.
We'll talk. But yeah, I'd heard of these a while back. Again, the first one came out in 2020. I didn't hear enough to want to add it to my list until just recently. And now I'm like, okay, no, I think I will have a good time with this. So planning to read this very, very soon. In fact, I'm thinking to read the first one when I finish the book that I'm currently on, which I am over 90% through. I've got both an audio that I'm almost done with and a Kindle that I'm almost done with. So I'll be moving into a couple of new books very soon.
Okay.
And that's what we have for you today, people. A whole bunch of books that have been recently added to our reading plans that we think are going to be good. Some that we'll read eventually, some that we're going to read very soon. What do you think of these titles? If there's some you've already read and you have opinions, without spoilers, feel free to put them down in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If there are other books that you have recently added to your reading plans that you're very excited about and you want to share, put them down there. It might make our reading plans longer. And most importantly, if you've read something we have on this list and you think it's garbage, we want to know that too, and tell
maybe
us
we'll take
why.
it off of our TBR if you're descriptive enough about why.
I mean, rarely does someone make my TBR grow smaller, but maybe you're the one.
Or at the very least, shove it further down the TBR.
Thank you for keep speaking, because it was like, or, if nothing else, shove it.
I mean, I would never say that. You did.
Okay, so that's where we are. Again, thanks for being with us today, and we hope you enjoyed all this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and look in the show notes for the other ways you can interact with Zach and I. Our Discord server, we talked about how we talk with people about books over there. You could come join us and be one of those people. And our email, our social medias, even our Patreon link. Thank you to all of you Patreon supporters who support us every month and help us keep this content coming out. That's the end of the line for me. Zach, you got anything else you want to say?
No, that's the end of the show.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy your reading. We'll talk to you next time.